Today I'm here at the CRC building to interview Kamille Lang. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Cooper, come.
Hi.
All right, should we do our interview?
Yeah, awesome. Let's
Great,
go.
sounds good. All right, perfect.
So, good morning, everybody. This is Kamille, our wonderful guest here. And tell me about your wonderful organization, Climate Resilient Communities.
Yes, so my name is Kamille Lang. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns, and I'm the Special Projects Manager at Climate Resilient Communities. It's an environmental justice nonprofit placed in Palo Alto, California, but we serve frontline communities from all over. Specifically, our deepest relationships are in East Palo Alto, North Fair Oaks, and Bellhaven, just north of us where we are right now. But we're also trying to expand into frontline communities in Santa Clara County and others that are in need of support to help adapt to climate change.
Amazing. So, adapt to climate change. Climate change is like literally streaking across the news. So, what can you tell me about it? How does climate change affect our communities and our everyday lives?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been having a lot of weird weather. It just stopped raining at the end of March.
Yes.
And it's like that weird weather over time. It's not just like every winter we're seeing something different. It's like when it's been like that for 30 years, that's when we know it's climate change, not just like odd weather patterns for the season. And so those impacts are changing the way California functions and like how people can live their lives day to day here. But it's especially impacting people in frontline communities, people that are already seeing the impacts of climate change first and worst before others. And oftentimes it has a lot to do with redlining, or the government kind of putting these zones arbitrarily in areas where they knew, like, well, the East Palo Alto right here behind us is in a flood zone. It's right next to the San Francisco Bay, and so every time it rains and as sea levels continue to rise, that area is getting flooded more and more often.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there's 50% of people that live in East Palo Alto are in a FEMA flood zone. FEMA is like the federal agency. There's like, yes, okay, climate change is happening in the future and we have time to adapt to that, but there's also frontline communities that are seeing those impacts already, where their homes are flooding every winter now. So that's kind of what Climate Resilient Communities does, is it listens closely to the neighborhoods that we're seeing have already been historically redlined, are not treated fairly, and are seeing the impacts of climate change first and worst, and listening to them to see how they want to adapt to climate change.
Wow, so part of it is almost like spreading the awareness of climate change in frontline communities and basically saying that climate change isn't just in the future. It's actually affecting us now, and especially in these communities.
Totally, yeah.
So what do you do in these communities to help?
Yeah, we do a lot of things, which is really exciting. And I think we're always listening and seeing, like, well, does this make sense for what you actually want in this community, or how can we pivot so that way it's helping people? Something that we're really proud of that we recently just got the Environmental Protection Agency just started funding CRC to help us build rain gardens in East Palo Alto. So thinking about this flood risk zone, right? When we have rain gardens, that water that's naturally falling on your roof gets like held in a cistern and goes slowly into a garden that's in your front lawn. And so it can like kind of take its time getting back into the San Francisco Bay. And that's been, so we applied for that grant because people in East Palo Alto were telling us that they want more jobs to be in East Palo Alto so people don't have to leave the city to work. And then they also wanted to stop seeing so much flooding. So we found a way to do both with this rain garden installation and have grant funding for it. So we've installed 10 rain gardens at this point, which is really cool.
High productivity.
Yeah, we got them done in November, which is really cool because we actually got to see it reduce flooding impacts in the neighborhoods over the winter. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So is it usually that the customers find you, or you find the customers? And
Yeah.
are they usually willing?
I'm really glad you asked this question because I think it's a really unique thing that I don't get to talk about a lot at work. But we really, because we're like being thoughtful and intentional and actually trying to build real relationships with people, a lot of our outreach happens word of mouth, where someone tells us like, oh, I got my rain garden installed, you should check it out too. And so I think like we spend a lot of time doing outreach on social media, on LinkedIn and stuff, but really when we see people listen closely and want to be a part of our programs, it's when it's like a neighbor is recommending it or a family member.
That's totally amazing. Do you have like a special story to share about this?
Yeah, I think I'm one that was featured. I used to be the Resilient Homes Program Manager. I just recently was promoted, and in that role, the Resilient Homes Program is trying to make sure that people have what they need in their home to be safe and like age safely in their home, and also adapting to climate change, electrifying your home, installing electric appliances, all that stuff. And someone that I got to work with a lot last year, her name's Cecilia. And she found out about us through a partner program that's our executive director's cousin is running that nonprofit. And she was just talking to a friend about like the things that were stressful in her house, like not knowing if it was going to be too cold in the winter, that the windows would like sleep in the cold. So Anamontagi Polynesian Voices recommended Cecilia to look at Climate Resilient Communities Resilient Homes program, and she's been a part of the program for 4 years now, and every time she comes back to us she says, okay, now I'm ready to work on this part of my house or this part of the project. And so she was able to get 7 windows weatherized at the end of the year, all new appliances in her kitchen that are energy efficient and functioning, which is like huge.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then she has vinyl flooring in her place. Her parents are both have mobility issues and kind of got where they got significantly worse during the pandemic, and so it was really important that that carpet get removed from their house, so that way the vinyl flooring makes it safe and flat for them to move. So I think there's a lot of, we just hear from word of mouth, and people really get a lot of resources and know to come back when they're ready too, which is exciting.
That's amazing. So you've already mentioned this before, but can you please elaborate on this? So what do you think in CRC makes people want to reach out to you instead of other organizations that still excel in that field?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think a lot of times, especially with like the Resilient Homes program, there's a lot of like rebates and incentives by government entities of like, you can get $200 off if you install your dishwasher with us. But people need more than that. It's not just like an extra $200 off of a $700 like appliance, right?
Yeah.
They want someone that they trust going into their home and treating them with respect and dignity as they assess kind of what needs to be updated, and maybe it's been a long time since they've updated something in their home. And so there's a lot more like being a real human and being respectful to people that we get to do at CRC. And people care about that so much more than just like, oh, well, there's a program online I applied to. Maybe we don't have access to the internet or don't know how to use the computer at home. And so when we come in, we say like, okay, let's look at the house together. What would you like to see change? And then we help them find the right program. And then we're there when a stranger comes in and installs the thing. And then we come back again and ask them like, what do you like about this? Do you think it's working? You know, how can we do it differently in the future with them? So I think building like a long-term real relationship with people is why someone would recommend us to come back into their home or come into their neighbor's home.
You've mentioned that what you think that the people are most proud of in CRC is the respect and the connection that you guys offer towards them and their houses. So what value that CRC demonstrates primarily are you most proud of?
Yeah, I really like that we bring a lot of passion to the work that we do, and that passion is centered in like wanting to take care of people. People often ask us, especially in like interviews, they'll say like, oh, what are your performance metrics? How do you measure success at climate resilient communities? And a lot of that is like based off of the grants that we get. We set like deliverables and benchmarks for it and like have those measurable outcomes. But really what I know like everyone at climate resilient communities is measuring success is like, did we help someone? Have we changed like what a family's living situation is like for the better? And did we handle a conversation with the community with respect, so that way they know that we're going to come back and keep asking them questions about environmental justice issues, safety issues, whatever that is. So I think that's the thing I'm most proud of at CRC, and why I wanted to join the organization, why I feel like empowered to like push back when we work with partners and say like, well, I don't think we're doing it the right way for the community, and just asking. Like, I also feel like I have a really safe relationship to talk to community members when I'm like, I don't know if this is right. Can I ask someone in North Fair Oaks about this before we start going through on a grant agreement or something? So I think just having like, I value those relationships with community members, and that the passion that I bring to the workplace is so that way that community is getting what they need to be better suited for climate change in the future.
Wow, that's amazing. So you said that you value teamwork with community members.
Totally.
So just like any organization, CRC probably has a lot of roles, right? And you were once the project home manager?
Yeah, Resilient Homes Program Manager, and now the Special Projects Manager.
So can you explain some of these and how the roles intertwine to make CRC what it is today?
Totally. I think especially the Special Projects Manager role that I'm in right now is like the connector and the accountability measure for other programs that are going on at climate resilient communities. We are currently in a partnership with Santa Clara County's Climate Collaborative.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is really cool. And they wrote us in their grant agreement so that way we could be the equity implementer. And so we get to like really like look critically at what they're doing at the collaborative and make sure that the right people are at the table. Are we inviting the right community-based organizations? Are those community-based organizations one that are actually providing direct services in Santa Clara County? And then like how are we making sure that frontline communities know that this climate collaborative is built for them, so that way we're all working on it together across like different sectors like government, nonprofits, and the private sector, and academia as well. So I think this Special Projects Manager, with the example of the climate collaborative, is the one that gets to really look closely at our partnerships and be teaching not just like people like how this is not fair and we can come together and adapt better, but also how other entities like other government agencies and other private sector folks can learn how to do things more equitably for the community they're actually trying to serve, not just showing up once and then leaving, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I see that CRC really has the passion of supporting nature. But even though CRC is so good, it can't do this all alone. So what can we kids and other people do to help nature?
Oh, I love that question. I think helping nature and helping people are really important for this, right? It's all hands on deck. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to have a certain degree to like want to get involved in this. And so asking questions and staying curious is always what I recommend, is like, well, is this normal weather? Can I look that up and see? You know, like, have I spent enough time outside in my neighborhood to know like there's a lot of trash collecting here and not there? What do I want to do about that? So I think asking questions, staying curious, always important. But then also volunteering. If you can volunteer, you should volunteer. And that's how I found out that I liked like this kind of work and wanted to get involved more, and started picking like my degree path and all that stuff. And then my final recommendation is, if there's like someone that you care about, that you're worried about, check in on them, ask them about like what you can do to help, because that relationship building that we do in the community makes us more resilient.
Amazing. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly right. Yeah, I know it's cheesy, but like it really works.
Yeah, exactly. So does CRC have any future plans?
Yeah, I think we're expanding right now a lot. We're less than 2 years old right now, and so we're looking to kind of keep growing as an organization and make sure that it's not just the communities that we serve right now that are protected against climate change, but also we're looking at other frontline communities that we can reach right now. So like Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, we're trying to go both directions out to the coast, and just making sure that people have what they need. So there's lots of events, there's lots of things to come out and see, and just like celebrate the partnerships that we get to make, and like understanding who's on your team and like wanting to find better ways to partner. So
that's amazing. CRC is such like a passionate and helpful organization. So is there any way that we can support CRC, like by volunteering or by learning more on your website? Yeah,
definitely. Please check out our website to see what we're up to. You can subscribe to our newsletter to see what we're doing every month. And then if you are able to donate, donating really helps us here and make sure that we can have like enough resources that go back out into the community, like paying people for their time and feeding them during our workshops. So if that's an option, that would be great. But just in general, being excited, being interested, and wanting to help is always like a great way to get involved too.
Awesome. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much, Kamille. And thank you, CRC, for making a difference in our world.
Of course, of course. Thank you for your time today. This was so fun.
Perfectly synchronized.